Okay, welcome everybody. It's Thursdays with Franco, where we talk capability projects and emerging trends. Hey, Stuart, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
And
Got my orange room. It's lovely.
and Chris, yourself.
Going good, thanks, Franco.
Nice to have you back here with me. But we've got Jason Grogan, who's going to talk to us about OCI resource analytics. Now, I'm going to say none of us have actually looked at that capability at all before. So, Jason, welcome to Thursdays with Franco. And
Afternoon, all.
yeah, and so take it away.
Yeah, there's a reason it's a brand new thing, so there's a reason no one's seen it. Yeah, it is hot. Well, it's fairly hot off the press, so that's probably why. Let's come on, Mr. Share. There you go. Right, so um, if I just click into observability and management, you can see, and if I sort of move the screen down a bit, you'll see that there's an awful lot of different things you can do in observability management, around monitoring and performance of applications, logging, log analytics, all these great things, all these event-driven things for monitoring and checking up on what's going on in your world inside the tenancy, and then alerting you on it. Now, in addition to that, we just had a new feature come in called resource analytics. So this is the new feature here, and I've got a resource analytics instance running. And what it does is basically behind the scenes in OCI to basically track all the resources, check what's going on with them, cost them, monitor and manage them. There is a warehouse, and it's what runs, and this basically allows you to tap into that data for your tenancy. Nobody else's tenancy, just yours. But wherever you have expanded your tenancy out in the world, whichever regions, you've got this ability to create this resource analytics instance. You can connect it to, in this case, I've got it connected to my pre-sales tenancy. I could also add it, I've got some child tenancies, which are in future I will add on to this as well. I can also decide which regions I want to look at. So this is connected out to various regions that I've got that I'm again connected to. You can see there's a lot more regions that my tenancy is connected to that I haven't bothered to add in. This was just for me to do some testing. But what it allows me to do is to pull all those pieces of information back from the behind the scenes warehouse and bring them into somewhere where I can use them. And then what they've done is they've given me different ways to visualize that data. So it uses, I can't believe it's still called ADW. Isn't that a Lakehouse database now? It's a, so it has a database behind it, an autonomous database. But obviously, clearly, this was pre last week where it was still called ADW. I'm sure they'll fix that, back that up in due course. Um, they've created some graph studio visualizations as well, and we'll show you those. And then they've also connected it to our old friend Oaks as well. So Oracle Analytics. So you can decide if you do or don't want some of these features. You don't have to use them all. You could just use the SQL if you wanted to, but it actually just allows you to pull in and visualize data. So for instance, if I look at the ADW, you can see it's a good old ADW database. I've got the ability to go into SQL, and here I've got the SQL running. It actually stores all this data into a protected schema for you, Franco. So you can see all the data you want, but then I've got views here that I can actually work on the data. So there's one that I just ran before we started. And it actually allows me to look at that data, and you can see I can see interesting things here, like if I want to track and work out have my backups been working, what's been backed up, all that sort of carry on. I've got various queries in here that actually allow me to ask little questions of data. And of course, I could tie this into various modes of using data and asking it questions. I'm sure we could, do select AI on these tables in the future as well if we wanted to. But at this point, it's just good old SQL I'm using here to do some, different types of querying on the data. So basically everything is sitting in this OCI RA protected instance, and that all gets pulled in. And every time things change in my tenancy, that effectively will get loaded into this OCI RA database that's running in my tenancy, and then I can interrogate that and do things on it to find out and work out what's going on in my world. Now, as I mentioned, we've also got Oaks, or Oracle Cloud Analytics Service, and they've given me some nice pre-built dashboards in here that I didn't have to build, but it's basically working on and using the data. So I can go back to the home here. I can get a good idea easily how many resources I have running, what's the current state of them. In this case, it's looking at autonomous databases, clusters. I can see lots of different pieces of information all about my tenancy. Now, in the case of this tenancy, it's quite enormous because it's got, the whole of ANZ pre-sales architects and specialists in here creating and testing and showing things to people. So it's got quite a lot of things in here.
I think we
But it
need to
allows
start
me to
asking more
quite,
questions, don't we?
yeah,
150 databases, what?
I
How
can
real
see,
time is it, Jason?
yeah, it's been quite interesting to see, what I can see in here. Some of these things were like, what the? Sorry, what was that, Chris?
How real time is this? Like, what's
Yeah,
the
it
late?
seems to be fairly up to date. It'd be interesting to, having said that, it would be interesting to stop and start a database and see how quickly it reacts in here. I haven't done any testing in that way, but because certainly if I go back here and you
Event-based
can see
or
where it says available, stopped, and terminated, be interesting to see how quickly this changes.
I wonder if it's event-based or batch-based, like it does a scheduled update twice a day or once a day or
Yeah, it doesn't say whether it does. You'd assume it must do pushes every so often into this database to update the status of things, but it gives you. But this is a snapshot, as I say. That is something. It's very early days for this service. I sort of spoke about it with Franco and said, "Look, I'm just getting this up and running to start demoing it. Happy to show it on Thursday with Franco and just to give people an idea of what these services are and what's coming." But yeah, it still requires a fair bit more testing, and that's a great question. How up to date is it? How quickly can we see? You can see it's got it does have enough information in here of changes, so you can see how things have changed over time. How many databases? I expect most of these are Franco's databases, especially if they're autonomous, But yeah,
you
you
must have
can
picked up historical data. If you only started that 2 weeks ago, first of
about
all.
a month. Yeah, it's probably about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's got a history back for a year.
Well, and this is the thing, because it's tapping into the back end warehouse that actually holds all the data for this tenancy. And yeah,
Mm.
so obviously it's highly secure. It just pulls your tenancy. You have a tenancy ID. You can't pull anybody else's IDs unless you've got permissions. As I say, I've got other tenancies. I could put them in, but I've got to have the permissions to be able to add that data in. But it does certainly, it's gone back and it can see. Because if you think this is probably the same database where all the billing and everything gets done from. So it's pulling all of that in, and every time a resource changes or gets affected, it gets put into that warehouse. And we've now been given a way to tap into that and use that data. So that's what this has given us. So it is quite interesting. You tap through these things, it gives you summaries, and it gives you some interesting summaries, and then you get a drill down. So you'll get a more of a table that you can then obviously, you can pull down and you can say, oh, well, I just want to see Sydney, for instance, like you can in any Oaks type. And there's a whole host of data in here, as you can see, that you can use that could be very handy. Obviously, what these ones down the end here, like, looking at backups and bits and pieces, it is quite nice that you could control, make sure you've got you're covering yourself, you've got the right backups going, you whether they're failing, you could do your own, you could create your own reports off of this data as well, because obviously it is a standard Oaks tenancy that you're running yourself. So once you've got this data in here, there's nothing to stop you adding your own workbooks in here about particular things and making your own reports based off of this data. But yeah, it certainly does. That's something I'll find out and report back to you guys like how quickly this data gets updated. But you can see it's quite detailed in what it's got and what it gives you access to. So this is all about the database inventory. You've got another one here that's showing you all the resources for your compute instances. And again, you can drill down into see what type of instances you're running, where they are, what's going on with them. So there's a whole host of information that's sitting here, and it's just another way of being able to view it and audit it, and I suppose give you that extra level of management of your tenancy.
That's
So
great.
they've
That's
it's
really
quite
good.
it's a vast amount of information. So as I say, so you've got those two methods of how you, and there is a whole bunch of pre-created books in here that allow you to discover and look at resources. This one's quite interesting. So for us, there's your two subscriptions, and then these are all the tenancies. And of course, we have all those sandboxes. So this probably looks more crazy than any other customers one would look. But you can, of course, you could drill down. So you could certainly drill down into particular, so I could just go, tell me everything under my organization. So there you go. There's all the people under that shows you the different, you can bring it down and filter it down to what you want to look at. But it just allows you to visualize and actually manage the resources that are in your tenancy. You can see you can do it by tags here. So if you in this tenancy, we have put a lot of automatic tags on. So it does allow us to start managing and seeing what's going on and who's creating. So it's quite useful like that. I think there was one that I saw that was, I'm trying to see where it was. There was one that sort of showed me everybody. I can't see it now. When I was actually looking earlier on, there was one that allowed me to sort by person, and it would say who had created the most amount of
Yeah, we don't need
resources in
to see
this
that.
tenancy.
No one needs to see that.
It wasn't you actually, Stuart.
That'd be me.
That's why you started getting uncomfortable, wasn't it? It's not me. No, it's Adam. It's actually Adam. But you can see, so there's a whole bunch of pre-created workbooks in here, and they're using these data sets, and these are all the data sets that are coming through into that protected schema. And then the other way that you can visualize this is by using graph as well. So there's some little again, you can pull out that you can see, so you can visualize. It'll actually help you visualize things, and you can put in, again, you've got to put compartment IDs and what have you into here to be able to do that. But you'd know those from pulling out the information. But they've given you several different ways to visualize this data to help you use it. From that one service. So that's just a new service that's actually been that's come along, and it's just basically the next addition to the whole suite of services. One of the other things, Franco, I'll just quickly show you, is I've been doing for a customer is showing them how I can easily monitor what databases for them, in observability management. So I've added agents to their DBCS databases, for instance, and where is it? Of course, I'll never find it when I want it, will I? There we go, database management. I can easily start showing people how they can look at all their database fleet. And I put in a few different databases. I've got some DBCS and I've got some autonomous ones in here, but it was just a quick way to show people that everything was running well, their data guard was running well, their backups were working and everything was compliant. So this is just yet another way of using observability management to get the best out. And of course, all these things, it's possible for you to alert on. So another thing I showed a customer just recently was log analytics. I put an agent onto their database cloud service, and then I could start looking at their logs and seeing what was going on. And anything that was going on in their in their world, I could stick an alert on, and then I could get it to send me an email to tell me what was going on, or I could create some dashboards um, to see what was going on in their world. And this is a dashboard that we created, and I've just shared with the customer, because this just, you can download these as JSON, and you can share them, and then they can put them in with their own data. So they can quickly make dashboards to start using their data. So you've got this way of visualization, but now, as I say, you've got this new way of doing it through the resource analytics as well. So that was a very quick romp through what is a new service. Is that good? What do you reckon,
That's
Franco?
that is excellent.
Mm,
We're close to wrapping up, given the time.
mm.
But
Yeah, that's fine.
Stuart, Chris, any questions for Jason?
What do you think is going to be the main use case for this, Jason? Do you think it's will be more around maybe cost management or administration,
I
or do
think
you
it
think
just,
like
yeah, it does.
operations?
It's probably a bit of both, because I think people are like, what have I got in my tenancy? How can I quickly visualize it? They can
Mm,
see like the normal cost type, functions and I was taking another one of Franco's customers through recently, your normal billing and costing, cost analysis type thing. But this is just another way to visualize that sort of stuff, isn't it? So you've got this traditional way of doing it, but to be
yeah.
able to have those reports and visualize, this is quite, being able to do it this way and see your resources is quite a nice way to go, oh, okay, now I can see where my costs are going, or now I can see, you can drill down and work out what teams are creating these things. So I think it will get used in a couple of different ways, management and cost analysis as
Okay.
well. Mm, mm,
I can imagine you could
mm.
apply some machine learning to this too, to do some predictions.
Absolutely. It's data, isn't it? So now you've got that
Yeah.
data in there. You could, like, certainly there's machine learning in Oaks you can do. There is obviously attach it to an LLM and start asking it questions as well. How come Stuart's using so many databases, or, what's he up? I could track him, send
Mm,
alerts to him, send him a bill, that sort of thing.
You already.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. So it's as I say, I think it's just another additional way of being able to manage and monitor your resources. It's just us trying to help as much as
I
possible.
think a few
Mm,
customers have
mm.
some apps that they've built. I've seen a few customers with Apex apps to
Yeah.
manage their resources. I think that
Mm.
data set would be quite a nice augmentation of what they do. So I'd be surprised. I mean, I didn't know that existed. So
It's brand new, yeah, as I say. And I know the one you're talking about, there's been a couple of different iterations of that, but of course that was sucking in the cost files, and then, yeah, again, as you say, visualizing it through Apex, which was good. And they've now taken this to the next level, where instead of pulling it down, pushing it up and analyzing it, they're getting it straight from the back end warehouse, and then allowing you to like visualize it in your own autonomous database, which is quite fancy.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, Jason.
No
Uh,
worries.
what a great session today.